All right, let's get right into it. There's this huge issue facing so many young people today. You graduate, you're ready to go, full of ambition, and it feels like all the doors are just locked. So, what is actually going on?
You see the headlines all the time, right? Tough job market. And we all know someone who's struggling. But what if the news is kind of missing the point? I mean, yeah, companies are hiring experienced people, but the reason why might be a lot bigger than you think.
The usual explanation you hear is pretty simple. The economy's tough, so businesses want someone who can hit the ground running. They think, why spend all this time and money training a new grad who might just leave in a couple of years? It just feels like a bad bet. And honestly, from a certain point of view, it makes sense.
Okay, but here's a much more radical idea. What if this isn't just a temporary slump? What if this is a massive, permanent shift? What if the very definition of a job has changed forever? Because if you look at it from this new angle, the problem isn't the economy. The problem is that the entire model of work we've been using for decades is just, well, obsolete. So the source material we're looking at today really zooms in on South Korea. And the argument is that the whole era where you needed a giant workforce to build up industries from scratch, well, that's over. The country has moved on, but the way companies think about hiring, that hasn't. And that brings us to a really important definition: the worker. This is someone whose main reason for showing up is the paycheck. The argument here is that if you keep hiring people who are just there to do a task for money, you're actually holding your company and even the whole country back. Now I know, that's a super provocative statement, but the idea behind it is that this kind of employment, where you're just trading your time for money, creates this dependent, unfulfilling mindset. It's a life that's missing real intellectual growth, real passion, and that can make you feel trapped. So this leads us to the core idea of this whole philosophy. It's this fundamental choice between two totally different paths, a choice between sticking with the old model or jumping into something new. You've got the path of the worker on one hand, and on the other, the path of the researcher. And this isn't just about your career. This choice really defines how you live your life and what you contribute to the world. And you can see the difference laid out right here. The worker is all about the transaction. You give me money, I give you time. And that can lead to always wanting more pay for less work and, not a lot of loyalty. But the researcher, they're driven by passion. Their work is their growth, so they're totally engaged, always thinking, and invested for the long haul.
This source describes the worker mentality as this sort of escalating cycle. It starts with wanting more time off, but of course for the same pay or even more. The whole game becomes about getting more while giving less, which, that's a logic that doesn't really work out for anyone in the end.
And surprise, surprise, here's what happens. This path, where it's all about the hours and the paycheck, it just leads to people feeling deeply unfulfilled. The source even calls it a humiliating life because there's no real growth. And that's why you see so many talented young people jumping ship after a few years, looking for something more. But then, in complete contrast, you have the researcher's mindset. It's like their brain is never off. Because their work is what they love, they're getting ideas everywhere. Walking in the park, watching the ocean, even when they're supposed to be relaxing. They're always connecting the dots because it's genuinely fun for them. This quote pretty much sums it all up. The researcher's path leads to growth, to wisdom. The laborer's path, it leads to stagnation. It's really the difference between a life of expansion and a life of just getting by. Okay, so if the old system is broken, then what's the fix? Well, according to this perspective, it's going to take a huge shift from both companies and individuals. For businesses, the new playbook is pretty clear. Stop looking for people to just fill a seat. Instead, start investing in people with passion. Call them provisional researchers. Give them 3 years to really explore what they love inside your company's world and watch them grow into these incredible, invaluable assets, true company treasures. And for all you young people out there, the advice is to completely flip the script. Don't go looking for a job. Go out and do your own research. Study the world. Come up with new ideas and put them out there online. The goal is to become so interesting and valuable that the right companies start chasing you. So what happens when this kind of shift starts happening on a massive scale? We're not just talking about individual careers anymore. We're talking about a grand vision for an entire nation. And really, this is the ultimate call to action. Stop being a small cog in a giant old machine. Instead, become a source of light, a source of innovation. In other words, become a star.
The philosophy here is that your own individual brilliance has this amazing ripple effect. When you shine, that light makes society brighter, it makes the nation stronger, and hey, ultimately, it helps all of humanity. And the prediction here is pretty wild. As more and more of these individual stars emerge, the world's best resources, we're talking top talent, big money, and global influence, they'll all naturally start flowing towards South Korea. The whole country becomes a magnet for progress.
See how this just flips everything we've been taught about careers? The point isn't to chase money. The point is to become so good, so brilliant at what you do that money and success just naturally come looking for you.
And this isn't just some vague, futuristic dream. The source actually presents it as a future that's already starting to unfold. The work to cultivate these researchers is happening right now. The prediction is that after 2030, this global influx will really kick off, and the nation will become this incredible beacon for the rest of the world.
So, all of this leaves us with one final, really provocative question. A question for you, really. In your own life, right now, are you being trained as a worker, just trading your time for money, or are you actively growing as a researcher, following your passion? It's a big question, and the choice is yours.